Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Guys, again I'm going to solve the question of domain, right? I will take a questions related to the logarithmic function and then we will find out the domain, right? So I'm going to give you one question. The question is find the domain of fx which is equal to square root log base 3 cos sin x. This is the question. Find the domain of fx square root log base 3 cos sin x. Guys, this is very interesting question if you know the core concept of logarithmic functions. Okay, I told you about a log in my previous videos. Okay, so based on that strategy, based on that rule, we will try to solve these questions, right? So the question is this is answer. The function fx is equal to log 3 cos sin x. As you can see that this is a square root. Forget about the log, forget about the cos and sine. First you have to see that this is a square root function. And I told you before that if you have a square root function, so the domain of a square root function must be 0 or greater than 0. This is very simple. So if you know the concept here, if you know the domain of the square root function, then this question would be so easy to solve, right? So now we can say that we have fx is equal to square root log base 3. Means everything here under the square root. So according to this condition, I will solve this question that this one, the whole thing must be means log base 3 cos and sin x must be greater than 0. Means this is under root and this is x. So this is under root, this is considered to be x, right? So if this is x, so this must be greater than 0. When the whole value is 0, not greater than 0, 0 or greater than 0, right? So if this value is 0 or greater than 0, then we can say the fx exists. Otherwise, this is not exist, right? Now, the question here we can say log 3 cos sin x. So our intention here that the whole value, okay, what value of x I am going to plug in here doesn't matter. The whole value must be greater than 0. So this is my first condition that I have written here, right? Now you have to think about this one, forget about this one. Now see what value of x I plug in here, right? And then we have this one, this log, and this is log, right? So what value of x I just plug in here, and the whole things become what? Equal to 0 or greater than 0. Okay guys, now if you see after this one, if you see a part of this, you will see this is the function of log base 3x. Yes or no? See, this is considered to be x here. So very important things. Log 3x means you can say here this is log 3 and this is x. So you must know how to draw the graph of log base 3x, right? So here, as you can see, I told you in my previous lecture, now the base is 3 here, right? The base is 3. So the graph will be always like this one. Okay? And we will say that this point, the first point, will be always 1, 0, which is called a point A. And then when this x becomes 3, y must be 1. So this another point which I got here, which point is called B. And this is the graph of log base 3x. Okay? Here, if you see here, we can find log 3x. Okay, here there is one condition. The x must be what? Greater than 0. This value must be what? Log base 3x, right? And here if you put x greater than 0, then function exists. Okay, so for this the domain is always greater than 0. For this one, this will be greater than 0, right? For this one. So here, if you want that this function exists, so this condition must be what? Okay, see this log 3x. So log base 3x, this will be exist when x is greater than 0. It means here, if you can see here, this value, if this is the whole thing is what? If this is what? 0. See here, this value is what? 0. So we got it log 30, and log 30 does not exist, because if this value is 0, we cannot say that, right? So if this value is 0, I cannot say that this exists, because log 30 does not exist, right? So for this condition, this cos and this sin x, the cos and the sin x must be what? This cos and this sin x must be what? Greater than 0. Okay guys, now listen. This is very important now. Please have a look 2 times or 3 times, right? Here, for these questions, if you see, log base 3x, we know that the value of the x greater than 0. But what is the nature of log 3x? Means what is the range of log base 3x? You can find the whole value is negative, yes or no? This is very important. You can find, because if the value of x is from greater than 0 but less than 1, we have a negative values. Means the whole things, this one, see, the whole thing, I'm going to write down here, see, the whole things, maybe we have what? Less than 0, means we have a negative values, right? But we don't want this one negative. This is very important. If the whole thing, for example here, this value, for example, called sin x, if this is 0.1, okay, I'm going to explain you. If, for example, if cos and this sin x, if this is become 0.5, for example, for any value of x, okay, if this becomes 0.5, so it means this is log 3, it becomes what? Log 3 0.5, yes or no? So can you tell me what is the nature of log 3 0.5? So log 3 0.5 always give you the negative value. So this condition fail, right? Because we want this value, the whole value for any value of x must be 0 or greater than 0. I mean the whole thing, the nature of the log. See, this is not log nature. This is, I'm talking about the range. So can you tell me when the log is 0, when we can say log is 0, when the function, this one, log base 3 cos sin x 0, when this is 0 or when greater than 0. So here guys, you can see, I told you this one in my previous lecture, that if the value of x here, if the value of x is what? 1 or greater than 1. If you see, if this value x here, if this value x is 1 or greater than 1, then this value is always 0 or positive, right? If this value is what? For example here, if I say x is 1, so we can say we need 0. So this is equal to what? 0. The condition is the condition satisfied, right? But for example, if you have log 3 1.5, this is greater than 0, yes or no? I need the greater than 0. So the whole thing must be greater than 0. The whole thing means this value is, if you want that log 3x, the whole things become what? 0 or greater than 0. For these cases, this case is very important. Log base 3x, this one becomes 0 or greater than 0 if and only if x is what? If x is what? 1 or greater than 1. This is very important inequalities. Without this, you cannot solve this question, right? So if this x here, you can see the graph, if x is equal to 1 or greater than 1, you have 0 or positive value. Here you can say if x is 1 or greater than 1, then log base 3x is always 0 or greater than 0. So here we can say these things, this is log and this is x, right? Log base 3 and this is x, considered to be x, right? This is 0 or greater than 0 if and only if x means this one is what? Equal or greater than 1. So this must be cancel here 0 and write down here 1, right? So if this value cos sin x, the cos sin, the whole thing is, and here I want to tell you one thing, for sine we have no problem. For sine we have no problem because if you give any value of x, sine x exists, right? And if you have any value of sine x, so cos exists. So I don't have any problem here and I don't have any problem here, right? Only the problem here in log base 3, because the nature of the log, the nature, if you say the range of log, it may be negative, it may be positive, it may be 0, right? So we need 0 or greater than 0. So if and only if cos sin x, this one becomes what? 1 or greater than 1. 1 or greater than 1, then this value is greater than 1. For example, if this is 1, so log 3 1, which is what? 0, and this condition is satisfied, and if this is greater than 1, then log 3 1.1 or 1.2 or greater than 1 is always positive value. So for these things, this condition must be true, right? Okay, so cos sin x, so cos sin x is 1 or greater than 1. So we can say here we have two conditions. Either this is what? Greater than 1 or this is equal to 1. So I'm going to solve this question first. Cos sin x is equal to 1. Okay, this is the first one. Means this, the whole thing is equal to 1. Or you can say cos sin x is greater than 1, right? Okay, here I'm going to erase this part. Here I'm going to erase a part. Now okay, you can see, okay, so now here we can say cos sin x. Okay, we can say cos sin x is 1. So you know, when cos 1, when the sin x here, if sin x, for example, if sin x is 0, if the sin x is 0, if this value is 0, okay, the whole sin x, I'm talking about the range of the sin x, right? If this value is 0, so we can say cos 0 is equal to 1, right? So here, if I draw the graph of sine, something like this one, right? This is the graph of sine, and here we can say, here means at this point, which is 0, this one you can say pi, this is 2 pi, this is 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, minus 2 pi, minus 3 pi, minus 4 pi, right? So if you are on 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, minus pi, minus 2 pi, minus 3 pi, minus 4 pi, if you are here, you will find sin x is a 0, right? If x belongs to, for example, I can say n pi, right? N pi, right? And I can say where n belongs to integers. Integers means positive integers, negative integers, means positive value, negative value, right? So if you have what? N is an integer, here you can put what? 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, or minus pi, minus 2 pi, minus 3 pi, minus 4 pi. So whenever you have x n pi, right, and you put it here, for example here, you can say n is equal to 1. So it becomes x pi. So sine pi means 0, right? So if this is 0, so become cos 0 is equal to 1. So we can say x is equal to n pi. So for n pi, this always is equal to 1. Okay, this is condition number 1. Okay, now we are going to check here. Here they say the cos, and this is x. This is considered to be x, right? This is, for example, this is cos x. So cos x is greater than 1, impossible. The range of the cos is -1 to 1, right? So you know cos x is always -1 to 1. You cannot say the value of the cos x is the greater than 1, right? It's always 1 or less than 1. Here they said cos x means cos sine x, and for any value of x, if you put any value of x from -infinity to +infinity, cos always less than 1 or equal to 1, you cannot say greater than 1. So this is, for here, this is impossible, right? This case is impossible. I cannot put any value of x here. It's impossible, right? You can put any value of x here, okay? So you will see cos and something, it's always, when you find it cos, it's always less than 1, not the greater than 1. So we will not take any value of x, right? Because this is not satisfied here. Because if you take any value of x, this will be from -1 to 1. So I will ignore this part, okay? And I will take only this condition, only this condition. So the domain will be x is equal to n pi. You can say domain belongs to n pi, where n belongs to integers, positive integers and negative integers, right? So domain belongs to what? You can say x belongs to, you can say x is your domain, right? So x belongs to n pi, where n belongs to integer. So the domain is n pi. The domain is n pi. So here you can say, if you go in the reverse direction, if you have, for example, n is equal to 1, so it become pi. If you put pi here, it become what? Sine pi. Sine pi is 0, then cos 0 is 1, right? The whole thing is 1. So whenever you have log 3 1, you will find log 3 1 is always, this is 1, right? So log 3 1 is always 0. So you can say this is equal to 0. And if this is equal to 0, for example, if you put here 0, the function exists. So the domain of this function is n pi, right? I hope guys you understand. Again, I said to you, this is very complicated but interesting question, right? If you don't know the core concept of the logarithmic function, you are not able to solve this question. If you want to make your skills too much, you have to study a lot about logarithmic function, and please watch my video because we have uploaded a lot of questions based on logarithmic functions, okay? So you can solve a lot of questions of domain. I hope guys you understand. Inshallah, I will meet you in my next lecture. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much.